Welcome back, everyone, to OpenLine. We are joined by Justin Jones. He is an activist, a well-known activist, and we've talked about all that he's been involved in the last week or so with the protests and even last year up at the state capitol. We have a lot of calls, and I just want to start getting to the calls. So let's go to Gerard, I believe. Go right ahead.
Yeah, there's two things he's going to have to change before he changes anything else. One of those is qualified immunity law that was listed in 1982, put in effect in 1982, that protects public officials and police only. The next thing you're going to have to change is get rid of the union, the police union. All unions need to go that are representing public servants. Those two things are going to have to be changed before you get any change done on. But if you can get those changed, you look up that qualified immunity law, read about it. It's on the books in 1982 when it was put into effect. And read that because it'll be of great interest to you.
Okay.
And I admire you for trying to change things and make it better for your generation and future generations, because this generation has certainly made a mess of it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do you quickly want to comment on that? What do you think about what he said?
I kind of couldn't hear everything, but about the qualified immunity, giving politicians, I guess, the police officers special privileges, definitely, I think we should examine that.
All right. We'll just keep going through the calls here. Let's go to Renee. Hello, Renee.
Hi there. Good evening. Thanks for taking my call. So I have three things to say. One, I just want to really applaud this young man for doing what he's doing. He reminds me of myself 50 years ago when I was very much an activist in my hometown of Detroit, Michigan, and I recall the brilliant young men and women that were my mentors. So he is carrying the torch forward, and I'm very proud of him, and I hope he continues to do so. The second thing I want to mention is that this thing about these statutes, many people such as Bill Lee and the others here in Tennessee and other states are either reluctant or just downright refusing to remove these statutes. And I don't know if they really know, I know they say ignorance is bliss, but by them refusing to admit that these statutes, though maybe historic, are a type of history that I would not want to recall, because that recalls a history that their forefathers perpetrated that is no less than a Holocaust against another group of people, and that they've yet to atone for their actions. So I think it's an arrogance and just a cynicism and a refusal to admit the facts. And perhaps this is why our country is starting to deteriorate and decline.
Okay.
And finally, this is a little lighthearted thing here. When I first saw this young man was when he had first been arrested, I think, some couple of months ago, and I can't remember the charge, but it was something to do with his activism. And from that first moment, I looked at him and I said, oh my goodness, he reminds me of my first love when I was like 10 years old. He was just exactly like Dan. I'm like, oh my God. And every time I see him, he reminds me of my little first love when I was 10. This little guy lived at the street behind me, and every morning I would run through the alley and go sit on the porch with him.
All right. Well, that's very sweet.
Oh my God, I can't believe he was
okay. All right, we're gonna move on, but I think that's very nice. So that's a compliment. It sounds like you remind her of her 10-year-old first love.
Thank you.
You talked about the first time you were arrested. Yeah. I mean, because the whole Cassida thing, we really haven't even talked about that. You were arrested, charges were dropped there. You were charged, charges were dropped. I mean, it's astounding.
And one thing about the monument I want to bring up, because I thank you for bringing up the monument again. I want to just make clear that monument to Nathan Bedford Forrest in the Capitol went up in 1978. It's not an ancient history monument. It's a monument that went up in direct resistance to the civil rights movement. And the black community here in Nashville protested it in 1978 and are still protesting it to this day. And so it's not this historic, symbol that has this great, rich history. It's something that's current and that has a clear message. And so definitely agree that we should remove it.
Let's go to Gail here. Hello, Gail.
Yes.
Go right ahead.
My question is, if it was just a civilian car standing out there, would he get on top of it? And if he's saying, is it right to get if you want to make a speech out in somewhere to get on top of somebody's car and walk on top of it? Second of all, y'all want to remove statues of all these in the southern states. If you go back and listen to the show that was on Channel 5 on Sunday night, 60 Minutes, the lady that runs the Constitution Museum in Philadelphia said that everybody that signed the Constitution owned slaves. So if you want to remove those slaves, you need to remove the Washington Monument and the Lincoln Memorial Monument.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Gail, for those. I'm going to ask about the police car second. That other thing I kind of ask about, but yeah, that is one of the arguments, a major argument. You take down Nathan Bedford Forrest, a slave trader. He started the KKK. That sounds, like that's somebody you could take down. But then, do you take down every person who ever owned slaves, all of our founding fathers? Where does it end? Is the argument that we're hearing a lot. What do you say to that?
Gail, Sister Gail, thank you for your question. I think that what we need to do is we need to examine, we need to have community conversations about why these monuments were put up in the first place. Because when these monuments went up, people who look like me were not involved in the conversation. And so we need to ask ourselves, why is that? Why is it that in Tennessee, the majority of statues are white men who were racist, and we don't have statues to Tennesseans like Ida B. Wells? We don't have statues to people like Diane Nash, who led a revolution here. We don't have statues of people like John Lewis, but we have statues to Nathan Bedford Forrest and Sam, the Confederate hero boy. Why is that? Why do we have something that honors Andrew Jackson but not the Cherokees whose land was stolen here in Tennessee? And so I think we have to ask ourselves these questions. I'm not really as concerned about markers and monuments as I am about people. And so I do think that we have to ask a question about our history. We have to tell the truth about our history. And if that starts the trajectory of saying, well, why do we honor these other people? I think that's important because we don't learn these things in school. And I think our young people need to hear these things, the truth about our history, because that is a road to truth and reconciliation and redemption.
And her other question was about the car. It was a police car. She said, would you have gotten on top of a civilian's car? Was it appropriate for you to get on top of that car?
If there was any platform, yeah, I would get on the platform to make an announcement. Nothing was damaged. Also, that police car was public property that we pay for. And so we have a right to address people. And so, again, if you're more concerned with objects, I just ask people like Gail, we have this absurdity with objects, but we don't hear that outrage when it comes to people like George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, and Breonna Taylor being murdered. Where's the outrage there, Sister Gail? Where's the outrage there, Governor Lee, Representative Holt? All these other lawmakers who are so concerned with markers and buildings which are, maybe they are important, but who have nothing to say when it comes to Black lives murdered in the streets of America.
All right, we'll take a break. Come back, take more calls right after this.
It's a Storm 5 weather update. For weather on the go, download the Storm Shield app.
Hi, it's the Statham family. No shave face here.
Hey everyone, Nick Barris here, along with my faithful bulldog, Dewey.
Hey, what's up? It's John Bird from NewsChannel 5 Sports.
Hi everyone, it's Carrie.
Hey, I'm Henry Rothenberg.
Hi, I'm Phil Williams.
Hi, I'm Vicki Yates, and this is my granddog, Frank.
Hi everyone, it's Jennifer Krause.
It's Bree Smith. It's Rebecca Schleicher.
It's Heather. Hey, it's Amy Watson. If you're like me, you are glued
to the TV, to all the devices.
Sitting at home like everybody else is, wondering what's going to happen next.
There's a lot of information coming at us fast.
All of a sudden, it seems like everything is so unpredictable.
This whole crisis has unsettled me.
So many things that are almost even scary.
We really haven't caught a break since the tornadoes.
Uncertain times, unsure of what's going to happen and how things go.
Maybe not loving being a homeschool parent all of a sudden. It'd be stressful and overwhelming and frightening. I felt it too. But please know and remember, you are not going through this alone.
You're not alone.
You're not alone.
You're not alone. You're not alone.
We're all still connected.
We're all connected.
We're going to get through this together.
We're still us.
We can still laugh and smile
And share moments.
Just be kind to one another.
We just can't do it with a lot of people around right now.
We just got to lean on each other, help each other, and love each other.
It's best just to hug those that are closest to yourself. And remember that we're in this together.
Stay healthy, stay safe.
Because this too will pass.
Remember, we are here for you because we're all in this together.
Because we're in this together.
And together, we'll get through this.
Because we are in this. We are all in this together.
We're in this together.
We are all in this together.
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 We're in this together.
All right, so we have 4 minutes left in this segment. I'm going to try and take 2 calls. I'm going to try and take David and Catherine. So if you could each talk for about a minute and a half, and then Justin will say something here. But let's take David on line 6. Hello, David.
Hey, Justin, I just want to commend you on your efforts to let you know that you are representing the people of color very, very well with your articulation of what you're saying. My question is, my comment is, second comment is, thank you so much for bringing to attention about the chief. Of course, he's been the chief 10, 12 years, been on the police force 46 years. I'm pretty sure there has been some policies and procedures that has been outdated since he's been a police officer. So that's one thing I think, if you want policing change, you should look at that and look at trying to keep that at the forefront of policing. Secondly, when you're using words like defunding the police department, just be cautious in that, because I'm from Birmingham, Alabama, where 3 cities has defunded the police department. Jefferson County and Birmingham, Alabama, is over. Their officers are all working overtime. I think we have level 1, level 2, and level 3 when you call 911. So those level 1 calls that are almost level 2 calls are pushed back a little bit further. So when you talk about defunding, be careful with how you say that and how you use those monies, because somewhere someone will be neglected in that. So just don't grow weary with your well-doing. Just be careful to don't put so much in the forefront at one time.
All right. I thank you, because we're trying to get through stuff. 30 seconds on that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Brother David. I definitely believe that this is going to take a community conversation of people offering the different nuances of this conversation. So I appreciate that comment, and I think that this is again going to be a solution that comes from people that the politicians will have to hear. So, thank you.
Let's go to Catherine. Catherine, can you say whatever you want to say in 1 minute?
Hello.
Hello, go right ahead.
Hello. I have 2 quick questions. Number 1, are you looking to change our capitalistic economic system? Are you looking to move towards more of a democratic, socialistic system? And number 2, with defunding the police, are you also looking to have your own type of police system, safety system, something of that sort?
Okay, let's ask both those things.
Yeah.
We're about to run out of time. Sorry.
Thank you,
What do you
Catherine.
think there?
Number 1, in regards to, I believe that racism and economic exploitation are interlinked, and that as long as you have one, you'll have the other. So I definitely believe that we have to address this systemically when it comes to economics and racism and in class. Secondly, about your other question about
defunding
the police department. I think that we need to invest in mental health. We need to look at what public safety is, not just policing, where you have people who are patrolling communities who feel like an occupying force, but we need to have a conversation on what will make people safe. That's relationships, that's investing in education, that's investing in healthcare, that's investing in mental health, that's investing in programs where people who are traditionally marginalized, immigrant communities, will feel like they can be a part of public safety. And so,
but you do still think there would be a group that would respond, right? If there were a 911 emergency, an active shooter or something, there's public safety to respond or not. What about that?
Yeah, maybe it can be like the fire department. You know, everyone loves the firefighters because they come only when they're needed. They're not there, you know, cruising behind you, trying to follow you and antagonize you. Like, the fire department comes when they're needed. The ambulance comes when they're needed. And so maybe there will be first responders, but it will look very different from this sort of occupying force that we see in our community, where every time I get the police lights behind me, my heart rate starts beating and I start feeling anxious. Like, that does not make anyone safe. And so we need to examine, what does public safety look like, and what does community sort of safety look like, community policing look like? And that's going to require conversation with so many different groups. And I think it starts by defunding the police department.
All right, we'll take a break. Be back right after this.